Hey friends, it's Shauna from glittergivesomemore.com. I sell glitter, I make glitter tumblers, and I sell ready-to-use water slides, all of which are available at the website linked in the item description. Today we're doing a combination cup of Waterslide glitter and peekaboo, and we are starting with a prepped, meaning sanded and painted, 20-ounce skinny cup. And the parts you've already seen are just me tracing the bottom of the cup and a chipboard, cutting that circle in half, folding it in half, and marking the halfway point of the cup. And we're doing that because we're going to divide the cup into two sections and spray paint that. So that little circle and chipboard cut in half is just a quick way to find the middle. For those that love math, you can totally do it using pi and math your way there. We just opted for quick and easy. So now I'm sectioning off the cup. Only half of the cup is going to get spray painted rose gold. The other half I need to stay white because we are applying a clear water slide to that section, so I don't want any paint splatters getting to the back of the cup that we aren't painting. So you can totally have done this using painter's tape. I used saran wrap and electrical tape because my painter's tape was in the garage and I was too lazy to go downstairs. There you have it. But you just, well, anything you can use to section off the back of that cup to keep the paint from splattering. And I'm just showing you, we used a rose gold Rust-Oleum paint to paint half of that cup. And I'm going to leave that tape on there because now I'm going to add another section to the cup where we're going to glitter above and leave the bottom where we're going to add my logo later and do a peekaboo. So that's what that electrical tape is, just to divide the glitter portion from where the logo is going to go and where we're going to do the peekaboo. I use matte Mod Podge to glitter. So this is the first layer of glitter. We're using a matte Mod Podge and a custom mix glitter from glittergivesomemore.com, but I haven't named it yet, so it's not listed. And once I get this video ready, then we should be able to have it listed, and I'll link it in the comments. Not the comments, the description. So that's just me glittering away. I wish everything could be done that fast. I like this whole speed up the video thing because I really didn't want to have a very super long video. We're going to let that dry, leave the tape on, and then we come back. Everything's dry. We're going to dry brush. I use a really hard bristle brush. I don't know where we get them from. I got it with an old painter's tape, or a painter set a few years ago. Someone did just comment that they used a toothbrush and it worked really well, so thank you for that tip. I appreciate it, and if you want to give it a try, there you go, hard bristle brush, toothbrush. Now we're doing the second layer of glitter, matte Mod Podge still, making sure we get all of the lumps, bumps, and ridges out. Smooth it all out, and then we're just going to put on more glitter. Look at that. I had so much I had to fit into the first part where everything was moving super fast, and now we are just trying to fill time with words. I don't normally seal my glitters, but I'm going to for this cup because I don't want any of that glitter traveling to the back of the cup where the water slide's going to go. So we're going to let this dry. Remove the tape while it's still wet. Let it dry. We're going to dry brush it again, and then we're going to seal it with the Rust-Oleum clear coat. And I think I used the gloss for that. Once the the sealant dries and everything is ready, we're going to do a fast set epoxy just to get everything, that first layer of epoxy, done. And then we will end up going straight to, I'm dry brushing there, and then we'll go straight from that to the water slide for the back. So we're putting the water slide on after one coat of epoxy. So there's the cup with one coat of epoxy, and we're using a full sheet clear water slide. You totally could use white if you so chose. For this part, I just happen to have more clear on hand, so I'm using a clear water slide. It's going over white paint with white epoxy paint, so it wouldn't make a difference if you used white or clear on this particular cup at this moment. I chose to keep the water slide full sheet so you had enough to play with until I got it placed. Once I had it placed, I do, and you'll see it, I do go ahead and trim off the excess to make it a little bit easier to maneuver around. And you can see that in the video as well. You want to keep it wet, and you want to keep it moving to where you want it. So that, I'm sorry, my words. You want to keep it wet so that you're able to maneuver it to where you want it. Now I have overhang on both sides of the cup so that I don't run short on one side or the other. And then I'm going to take a little side note here because you don't see it in the video, but what's happening after this that I didn't tape, I do add a white Waterslide decal to the front bottom portion of the cup where it is rose gold. And then I add a layer of epoxy. And in that next layer of epoxy, again, you're not going to see it, but I add Dainty Diamonds, which is a very, very fine white iridescent glitter. And I just add a little bit to give sparkle. And I put that over the entire cup so you can see it over the water slide, because there's no glitter behind the water slide. It's not going to sparkle otherwise. So by adding a little bit of Dainty Diamonds to the front, to the epoxy on that second layer, you're going to get sparkle on top of the water slide. So this is just me pulling the water out of the water slide. We have an epoxy jet. We're just making sure that the placement is right. And then we're going to use a sharp blade to trim off the excess on either side. You can do that when it's wet or when it's dry. But you've got the painter's tape there. Oh, I forgot to mention we taped it off, but the painter's tape is the dividing edge, so you can kind of use that as your guide of where you're going to cut the water slide. So at this point now, we've got that layer of epoxy that I told you about that's got the Dainty Diamonds in it. And I used a white water slide for my business logo. And I am just taking painter's tape and lining up where I want the paint to go. So my water slide is going to be a peekaboo. So that's why we definitely had to epoxy. The painter's tape is my guides for when I'm spray painting. I'm going to know exactly where my logo is because it's not going to get painted over. So that's the point of the paint or the tape I just put on. And now I'm going to section off the part where I'm going to actually paint is just going to be that bottom quarter or so, bottom half of the cup. So we're only painting a quarter of the cup. And it's just that front bottom half. So this tape I'm doing is meant to line up where the paint is actually going to go. And then you'll see me go through and saran wrap again the back and top portion of the cup. So when we spray paint, we don't have to worry about paint getting anywhere but where we want it. Keeps it nice, clean, and easy to work with when we start taking paint off. Oh, and I'm going to get saran wrap because nothing is nearby. So there's the saran wrap for the top half, tape it off with the painter's tape, and then we'll get some more saran wrap for the bottom and back half. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. I figured with this cup having so many steps, it was easier. Normally I do like in real time type videos, but I just figured in order to show you all of the steps to make it easier to understand, a quick series of mini videos all put together is an easier way to do it. So we're ready to paint now. We used rose gold paint, just painted that front. Let that dry and then went over it with matte white. We wanted the 2 layers because we're going to take that paint off. And I wanted to have a little bit of a distressed look to it. And then we're going over the dried white paint, and I'm just using some rose gold. I don't even remember, it was maybe acrylic paint. It's just rose gold paint that I'm splattering onto the white part to add just another layer of design. Now once that dries, we will take off all of the saran wrap, all of the tape, and then we'll start on the peekaboo part of exposing the logo that we just painted over. So the tape shows us where the logo is, and then I'll use a small, I just cut a piece of like a shop rag just cut the corner of a shop rag off, and I used that and pure acetone to start pulling some of the paint off of the edge there. And I know where the logo is, so I don't have to guess, but I still have to be careful not to go too far away from the logo, because once you take the paint off and you expose the edges of the water slide, I mean, the only way to fix that really is to start from the beginning again and to repaint the peekaboo part of the cup. So you're being really careful to do to stay around about where the logo is, or have an idea of how far off you can go. And I just know from the left to the right isn't very wide. I had plenty of room top to bottom, but not much left to right. So I'm using 100% pure acetone, and as I take off the white, I'm exposing some of that rose gold underneath it. And once I like the look of it, we will use alcohol to clean up the epoxy, because the paint, I mean, as you're taking the paint off, it's not coming off perfectly clean over the epoxy. It's, you know, pulling some of that dulled paint into the logo area, and that's totally normal. We use I think it's 91% alcohol to clean that up. And that's what we're doing now. Now after this portion, we do another layer of epoxy, and we want to make sure that after this layer of epoxy, everything is nice and smooth, because the finishing touch on this will be adding the vinyl strips to create the transition lines. So this is epoxied, ready to go and smooth. And when I'm adding my vinyl strips, these are rose gold matte vinyl that I got from Amazon. I'll link it in the comments. But I loved this vinyl just because it was so easy to work with. It wasn't as, like some of the rose gold vinyl is foily, and this one was just like normal, had the texture of normal vinyl. In any event, it was easy to work with, and I don't use my vinyl cutting machine to cut the strips. I just cut them with my paper cutter. I have a straight edge paper cutter. Fiskars, I think it is. I've had it for years. I can link that too. But it's just easier for me to apply them like stickers after I cut the strips out. But I know a lot of people too will go through and use their cutter and cut multiple strips. Whatever works for you. You know me, I'm a fan of whatever works for you. So that's the way I do it. And I use the straight edge or the box cutter to trim the top and trim the bottom. Like I'd said, you want to make sure at this point it is completely smooth, because any lumps, bumps, or ridges will show in your vinyl. If you want to add something to the bottom to cover up the transitions, that's a good idea too. It's all up to you at that point as far as how you want. Some people put their logos down there, some people put care instructions. But you do have that dividing line down there. You have some of the vinyl down there, so it's definitely not a bad idea to put something to cover it up, make it look finished. But that's it, guys. That's it. So now you would just final layer of epoxy and it's ready to go. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me or comment below. The glitter and water slides available at glittergiftsandmore.com. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and being patient while I did my first voiceover video.